I think that the coverage of ENDSARS is clear. So we train not just female reporters, but investigative reporters. And many of the people we trained covered the story, and they did big stories on it. But what is clear is that the media, over the years, the history of Nigeria, has always pitched its tent with the people, all the challenges of the media notwithstanding. When it comes to something that relates to oppression of Nigerians, the media does not stand aloof, especially when it's a mass thing. So when you talk about corruption cases, one media house might pick the story and another media house might not. But when you talk about the oppression of Nigerians, the direct oppression of Nigerians, all media houses are in solidarity. And, you know, ENDSARS got very, very good coverage. Very good coverage. Even voices, it wasn't about just known faces. It was about anybody who was willing to speak their mind. And that's why I disagree with the concept of my citizenship. I am a citizen, you know. The oppressor cannot grant you your freedom. So if we are waiting for them to validate our position, we're going to wait forever. We're citizens. We have a right in the room. As a matter of fact, we are their employers. They are employees. It's our power. Yes, the reality is far from it. True. This is the country, and there is a country, and that is why our narrative must become more nuanced, even as media. We cannot just have faces of leaders always on the cover pages. How about the faces of the people? How about the faces of young Nigerians trying to make a change? How about the faces of young Nigerians organizing in one way or the other? Whoever has the narrative has the perspective. And the challenge that I have seen with the media, and I've done quite a number of media monitoring and read a lot that others have done, is a lack of strategy. The politicians, like we have all said, always come ready, organized. We mostly wait for the news to happen and then we report. There is a need for us to also have a strategy to narrate and to tell the story of the Nigerian people as citizens, young people taking up their own space and leading. The media has the duty to give them the platform to speak. I would often tell journalists that I train that you can speak to newsmakers. So I've mentioned San many times, and I say that, by now, you should have gotten a second, a third, a fourth person that will replace him. Don't keep going back to that same person. It's true that you speak to those people who have already made the news, who are newsmakers. But the media has the capacity to make newsmakers. So it is important for us to know that these are not just known voices. There are so many voices that agree with him, but nobody had asked them what their opinion was. And ENDSARS was that time when young people did say their opinion and show that we can organize, we can change. So many mistakes made, but we all do that every day. But the thing is that we go back to the drawing board and then we reorganize. And then the absence of media, the concentration of media at the central level is something I've talked a lot about. We need to go and face the governors. We need to ask, do we have a democracy? Where is the local government? If the house does not have a foundation, how come we are seeing skyscrapers? Where is local government? So many local government have administrators, not elected people. So we need to take media back to the place that questions government, who have become lord of the manor. They do not raise any funds. They are bailed out day in, day out, and they are totally unaccountable. So this is a federation. We need to take accountability to the state. We need to take accountability to the local government. And we need to publish what the citizens are saying more. We've heard what our presidents and governors have to say. The citizens of Nigeria have things to say, and we need to talk more about them. And no, without a doubt, I've said many times, the media cannot be silenced.
Despite the historic contribution of the late Chief Ganefa, it's because Nigeria is a crime state. Nigeria is a crime scene. And you see, in an environment where crime is an official policy of state, it becomes difficult to have a conversation surrounding justice. The ideology of the ruling class in this country is built on criminality. And that is the reason why we talk, we protest, and there appears to be no response. Will the killers of Delegiwa ever be brought to justice? It is neither here nor there. Because if we were to have the power as civil society, the names have been mentioned, we would have had them hanged by now. But when you have a country where you cannot even assume political party except you are either a criminal or you are supported by criminals, it becomes difficult to have crime punished, especially crime where a former head of state has been connected with. So my position is that for some reason, because look at what has happened, those who killed Thomas Sankara are being put on trial. Nigeria must reach a point where something has to happen, and that is the language of ENDSARS, the message of ENDSARS. Something has to, for the killers of Delegiwa to be brought to justice in this country. Something must happen that has to shake Nigeria to its very foundation.
Thank you very much.
And until that happens, we can only continue to demand for justice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for the opportunity. For me, we are talking about 35 years of killing of Delegiwa, and I'm very sure even before that time, we've also had brutal killings, and we are still having, it's still ongoing, as we speak. For me, is a confirmation, of the fact that when you live in a class society, where the commanding height of the economy is being controlled by a tiny minority, where the mass majority of the people lives in abject poverty. The role of the state really in such society is actually to defend the interest of that minority group of people. That is the truth. Forget about what they want us to believe. Forget about what they're telling us, the ruling elite and the apologists. They will tell us the state is in defense of everybody. They tell us we have rights, right to peaceful gathering, right to express yourself and the rest of it. But it is not enough to have a right. You must also have capacity to actualize and defend our rights. And that capacity for us lies in our ability to organize the mass majority of the people who have been subjected to mass poverty by the policies of this ruling elite. So for me, it is not possible to have that kind of system. I still think that you can't have a society without police brutality. It is just there acting like you are looking for a lion that what it means. So it's not possible. So looking for the killer, unless you want to wait till eternity, as long as you see how people, at the end of affairs, you can never find that killers. Look at the ENDSARS. They consider different panels of inquiry.
We're coming to
nothing good can come out of that panel. We need a radical, fundamental change in this society before we can even seek the killer at all.
All right.
As long as these people is there, forget it. It is in their interest not to even find that killer, and they can never find it.
All right.
There are no citizens yet in Nigeria. That's number one. There are no citizens yet in Nigeria. So what happened during the Delegiwa was just trying to assume, that he is a citizen, using his skills, his organizational ability, and every other thing to put up something together, at least to unearth some of the corruption in his society. But what happened? He was brutally killed, and we all know this story. I don't want to repeat it. The same thing happened during ENDSARS. The young people of this generation were trying to become citizens, because there is nowhere in the world where a government would load a gun with bullets and face citizens. You don't kill citizens, you kill slaves. So the relationship that we have in the ruling class today, because I want to align my thoughts totally with Comrade Rashidat.
Right.
Is the slave master and the slave relationship. That is what we have. The ruling class do not see us as citizens yet. Because you can only talk about rights human rights when you are seen first as a human being. And there are so many indices to this particular thing. I was at the Lekki panel yesterday, and the victims and every other person who were there left that place disappointed because of till now the reports of the massacre has not been, it's not out. What we were told is that it will be sent to the governor, and then the governor is going to issue a white paper and many other grammar like that. But what happened during ENDSARS actually, like I said earlier, is a presumption of citizenship. People came out to say, okay, you've always called us citizens of this country. Can we test this citizenship on the streets? Can we test these rights on the streets? You've called us the leaders of tomorrow. Can we even test this thing on the streets? But what happened? For the first time in my life, I saw something very organized, well mobilized. In fact, people were cleaning the streets. So when they came with this idea that hoodlums hijack, because we should ask our politicians, during political rallies, when do the commissioner of police would always send, commissioner of police send a notice that hoodlums will hijack their political rallies? We don't see that. But it's always during protests, suddenly the commissioner of police becomes very concerned. And we now start telling you that, please, don't go about that protest because hoodlums will hijack it. And those people they call hoodlums are Nigerians. They are their friends during election. When after election, during protest, they become hoodlums. After hoodlums, they become thugs. You see, so they have different coinages for them depending on what they are doing at a particular time. But ENDSARS has taught us just, one thing. And some of us will come from the very radical pattern. For those who know my history at the University of Lagos, you know all the things we've been, putting up in that place, even till this time. What ENDSARS has taught is that you don't have to be too confrontational, or in fact, if you say you want to be mild with your demands, provided your demands are against the class interest of the ruling class, they would come after you. For some of us in the Revolution Now movement, anytime, I know, because I mentioned Revolution Now, some of you are already shaking. Because when you hear revolution, you think it's violence and all of that. But let me say this. Ever since we've started the Revolution Now thing, we've not recorded any casualty of death. And so some person said, okay, revolution is too confrontational. You people want to upturn the government, you want to chase out everybody. Okay, let us reduce it to ENDSARS and just bring out 5 demands. Just conservative demands that even if you don't let us change the system, let's just reform 1 or 2. And look at what happened. People were killed for that. And that's to tell you that if you like, take it away from revolution now, make it jubilation now, clapping now, standing now, sitting now, provided whatever you are saying is against the class interest of the people running this country to pay, they will come after you. And you're thanking me every time. You see, many persons have said we were here last week Monday, and the conversation has always been about we need to organize ourselves. And I ask the question, what are we organizing? What are we organizing? No, who are we organizing means ourselves. But what exactly are we organizing? A speaker here today has mentioned elections. I can then ask myself, which election? Is it with this motivated electoral acts that says that the threshold that you can spend to become president is 15 billion? That you can spend lesser anyways, but you cannot spend more than 15 billion. And we all know with the kind of electoral violence, election violence we all see, these guys spend more than 5 billion. But now it has become law that they can spend 15 billion. So what are you expecting in 2023?
Well, my dad served in the Nigerian police until, he retired and he passed on at 2017. Looking at how everything has transpired from Delegiwa to ENDSARS, all I can see is, pardon me because I go into speaking Yoruba once in a while, because I'm starting to learn that there is value in our traditional adages and sayings. So to make that clearer is to say to you that I don't think there's anything the Bible teaches or the Quran teaches that there is no traditional adage for. So, Eshiwaju Niteyiwo Sare, it is what our leaders have learned from who taught them about leadership. So in my head, because I'm asking what's the roots, at what point did it become okay for a black man to think it is okay to kill another black man for nothing? It must mean that at the core of everything that we're doing, if Oyibo don't come, don't talk, say, this is how you treat a black man. I have kids, I have 2 of them. I don't spare the rod and spoil the child. However, a human borrow, no. Like there is a way you speak to a human being. So I feel like the connectum here is at the core of what we've practiced and how we've learned the things that we've practiced. The white man has come to tell teachers in Africa that you have to beat African students to learn, whereas in their own home, it is not so. Right. So it is a foundation. It's like the course has been passed on from colonial masters to black colonial masters. Right. The bottom line for me will always be humanity. I remember then I was in St. Gregory's College and I was watching the Beslan attacks in Russia. I was watching it on TV and it didn't make sense to me how somebody that looks like Rambo from an action movie is shooting an assault rifle into a dispersing amount of kids. I started to ask myself questions, like, I started to question my faith. Like, I started to ask God, like, Afana, how science, you know everything. And so, before they bomb Bin Laden, you know, say Bin Laden go be Bin Laden. Why you allow him become Bin Laden? Like, I started to ask those questions. And in the barracks, people would hear me speak and say, oh, he's so eloquent and whatever it is. But there was a time I was sleeping, and how did I wake up? A huge rat jumped on my chest. I was babysitting my younger brother in the house, and seeing how life in the barracks is one other systematic way of putting certain men with ammunition in a mental state that will make them misbehave. Thank God for my dad. Like, at this point, I've never really appreciated my dad so much, and this is the moment that it's hit me, because he tried. My dad made sure that his kids were not statistic figures. Yeah, Larry and whatever it is. Like, he never allowed that. My dad's pride preceded everything. Like, before you insult him, he don't command.
So how did you feel seeing that the hashtag ENDSARS was actually based on police brutality?
Oh yeah, because I'm also aware that at a certain point, certain officers have to hustle for their superiors. So the people that you're fighting are not the people that you're fighting. The situation is more than the guy on the streets that is holding an AK-47 and harassing you. Most of those guys have targets. I know how much my mom went to sit down and do power meetings so that my dad could be taken away from Goza. Or when he had Baragoy, I can give you, I know that if you die as an officer, in the next 3 to 6 months, they will evict your family as if they don't belong there. So I'm seeing that, but then again, I'm also a youth. And I'm seeing how much, even if you think this guy is a corrupt person, there's investigation for that purpose. Investigate them. You can't take law into your own hands and start to execute them. However, during my own protest on Lagos Island, we had officers in Mufti though. Because in my head, it's always going to be humanity first. Why we're referencing Daily Giver today is because of humanity. Why we're referencing the ENDSARS campaign that went left is because of humanity. Because at the end of everything else that we're talking about, humanity wins.